Wintertime by Robert Louis Stevenson. Late lies the wintry sun abed, a frosty, fiery, sleepyhead. Blinks but an hour or two, and then a blood-red orange sets again. Before the stars have left the skies, at morning in the dark I rise, and shivering in my nakedness, by the cold candle bathe and dress. Close by the jolly fire I sit, to warm my frozen bones a bit, or with a reindeer sled explore the colder countries round the door. When to go out my nurse doth wrap me in my comforter and cap. The cold wind burns my face and blows its frosty pepper up my nose. Black are my steps on silver sod, thick blows my frosty breath abroad, and tree and house and hill and lake are frosted like a wedding cake.
Hello folks, and welcome back to Wonder of Watches. Now, that was Wintertime by Robert Louis Stevenson, beautifully read by my wife. Unfortunately now you've got to listen to my voice again as I bring the cultural tone down a peg or two. So this is the Seiko Sarx055. It's another JDM release, and for me it perfectly captures the essence of a cold, fresh and sparkling winter's morning as written about by the Scottish poet. Now I just want to say a massive thank you to my friend Mark, who is also in the Dublin Watch group, for kindly sending me this one down for review. So let's get into it then. Dimension wise, we have a case diameter there of 41mm. We've got a 20mm lug width. It's got 11.3mm in height, and again we've got that extremely wearable 46mm lug to lug, which just negates that 41mm. Sometimes people think 41mm is a bit too big for a dress watch, but again I'm not sure this is a dress watch and more of an everyday watch. Particularly got that sporty vibe, that beautiful bracelet. Now, in my last video I took a look at another one of the Sarx range. In fact, it was the Sarx055, which is the black dial version. Now obviously there are very similar design cues here to the Sarx055, namely the design of the case, hands and bracelet. Also the movement is the same, the workhorse 6R15, made in-house by Seiko, offering 50 hours of power reserve and beats at a frequency of 21,600 beats per hour. But there are two major differences that we need to take a closer look at. Firstly, the case and bracelet is made entirely from titanium here, and primarily this makes for a far lighter watch than my own Sarx. In fact, I was really taken aback when I took it out of the box for the first time. My own Sarx weighs 158 grams on the bracelet, but this weighs a meagre 106 grams, and you barely notice it on the wrist. In fact, you entirely forget it's there until you go to check the time. Now the case finishing has similar characteristics to my own Sarx. So we have brush lugs, which continue all the way around a highly polished and domed bezel, and they transition into highly polished sides, and there's another polished bevel which leads down to the case back. Now the case back is slightly different to the Sarx too. It's got a flatter faceted finish here, whereas the steel case back on my own Sarx was domed to meet the see-through Hardlex crystal, I believe, on the back of this watch. Now its finishing is highly impressive in steel, but titanium is notoriously difficult to finish, so it's even all the more impressive here, as Seiko have absolutely nailed the graining of the brushed elements. And again, just in terms of grand Seiko detail, you can see on the inside of the lug here we've got a highly polished facet which slopes down to where the bracelet meets the case. Fantastic finishing. Now, the other major difference here is the dial. The dial takes on a frosted white form that is absolutely beautiful. In fact, I think I prefer this to my own black dial version, and I think Mark definitely made the correct choice here. It's absolutely stunning. It's not nicknamed the Baby Grand Seiko Snowflake for nothing, and again we have the anti-reflective coating on both sides of the crystal, and we get full access to that frosty loveliness. However they've managed this, Seiko seem to have recreated that almost transparent look of frost or ice while still delivering the astonishing patterns that can be seen on an icy surface. But there is still great depth to the dial, and to me it feels like there is water underneath the ice giving it a shadowy depth, or even how a frosty window looks in the early hours of a winter's morning. The finishing is incredible under macro. The sheer volume of striations used to form that most dynamic pattern. The indices are different to the Sarx055, whereas the indices there had grooves on the top facet. There are no grooves here. We get highly polished facets on all sides. Finishing is incredible, and the indices contribute because they sparkle as the light passes them to the general frosty, icy theme here, but in a very exquisite way. The watch too, to me, it looks so expensive and completely belies its real price. In fact, I would consider it to be a real alternative to the iconic Grand Seiko Snowflake, but it is different. The Snowflake obviously uses the smooth as butter spring drive movement, and the dial looks like a field of fallen snow, whereas this looks more like icy frost, but it is literally less than a quarter of the price of the GS Snowflake. The bracelet is also similar in design to my Sarx055. Again, we've got push pins there for resizing it. We have that flush clasp, and it's milled, so you're talking high quality here. Now, one difference I did notice with the bracelet is, whereas the sides on my own Sarx of the bracelet have got a highly polished finish, the titanium version has a brushed finish on the sides of the bracelet, but it's really well done. Other major differences with this watch include the blued seconds hand and the fully polished hands as opposed to half brushed and half polished. But the fact that the fully polished hands reflect everything in sight is negated by the fact that they are backed by a white dial. This watch is still available from seijapan.com for €866. Shoppinginjapan.net also have it. It's a bit more expensive there, as do Noman watches. Just be careful if you are buying it of import taxes and duties. In summary then, this is one of the nicest watches I have ever handled, and I think Seiko have absolutely nailed it. The wonderful finishing, the light titanium materials, and the absolutely incredible dial. This is one that I can wholeheartedly recommend, and I think I will be quick to act, as Seiko just don't seem to be offering a value proposition like this anymore as they increase their prices across the board. So that's it, the Seiko Sarx055. Good luck everyone, Ben.